Welcome to the Fantasy Champions Fantasy Football Podcast. Here's your host, Morgan Colby and Rick Lemon.
Welcome to the Fantasy Champions Fantasy Football Podcast. It's Tuesday, September 3rd. It's like,
wait, what?
It's September now, not August. It's not preseason month. It's regular season month. In fact, in I think 2 days there's a football game that means something to an actual team in the NFL. Starters are going to play the whole game, and there's fantasy implications, real life fantasy implications.
Wait, so we get to really watch football again and not watch fourth stringers compete for the 53rd roster spot?
Breaking news.
The NFL season starts on Thursday.
Oh!
Congratulations. Exactly what you've been waiting for.
Give yourself a round of applause for making it this far.
Everyone's 0-0. You got a real shot at the championship right now.
You're undefeated.
You are undefeated right now.
You have not lost the game.
If you're like three teams in our league that we already know are going to be 0-10.
Shots fired.
Yeah. My name is Morgan Colby. I got Rick Lemon with me as always.
What's up?
We are so excited to bring you our roster cut down opinions. We're going to give you our winners and looters. Winners and looters. Oh, boy. Winners and losers from roster cut down Friday and Saturday. And then we're also going to give you our top 3 breakout players for 2019 this is our last episode before we start actually talking about, real stuff.
That's wild, dude.
We get to actually start all kinds of stuff
to talk about the NFL.
Yeah,
regular season games.
I've been so bored. I think I've talked about this a million times on this show, but I've been so bored in the last 2 months. I mean, draft stuff was fun. I still got 1,000,005 drafts, but I'm I got a bunch of money still on Sleeper that I have to use for my best ball drafts, and yeah, I'm procrastinating. But anyway, we're going to bring you our top 3 breakout players. Before we get into the news for the show, make sure you go on Twitter and like us on Twitter at the FF Champs, like us on Instagram at the Fantasy Champions, like us on Facebook at go to facebook.com/the Fantasy Champions and like us on there. Subscribe wherever you listen: Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, YouTube. Click the bell on YouTube for notifications. Leave a comment on YouTube. Leave a review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, wherever you're listening, and share this podcast with your friends. Let's get to the news first. The Tampa Bay Times, Rick Stroud believes Bruce Arians will go with the, quote, hot hand between Peyton Barber and Ronald Jones. It has been confirmed that Peyton Barber is the starter for Week 1.
Well, that's a great sign if you own either one of those guys. You're just going to flip-flop between them.
I dropped Rojo, so there's...
Yeah, I would too.
I don't know if I would suggest dropping him. But
unless you're in a deep league.
I didn't have a 7th bench spot, so there's that. Jimmy Garoppolo remains on track to play in Week 1, which is good.
Love you, Jimmy.
I don't know why he was not on track to
ACL
play Week 1. Oh, yeah, that's ridiculous. Leonard Fournette says he's in a much better place this year, mentally and physically, than last year.
That's good.
He dropped 20 pounds, and he's not a hoodlum anymore.
That's also good.
Kareem Hunt underwent a sports hernia. You know what's a sports hernia surgery on Thursday morning of last week. You know what's ironic about that? It's basically a 6 to 8 week injury. So the time that he would spend suspended is now the time that he would spend hurt.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So it didn't really matter.
But he cannot go to the team facilities to recover. So he's got to figure out that portion of it. Coach Brian Flores confirmed Thursday that Ryan Fitzpatrick will start for the Dolphins Week 1.
Can you say his name correctly?
Ryan Fitzpatrick.
Ryan Fitzmagic.
Ryan Fitzmagic. I'm sorry. Josh Allen had a better preseason than Ryan Fitzpatrick, and they're still starting.
You mean Josh Rosen?
Josh Rosen. Wow.
It's okay. Josh
literally
Allen, Josh Rosen.
In the same division now. They're in the same division. And there's 2 Josh Allens in the NFL.
Oh, yeah, there is. With Josh Rosen, doesn't it feel like he's kind of been set up to fail so hard?
It really is. And everyone's talking about how the Dolphins are going to tank for Tua next year. And I'm sitting here going so they're going to draft another quarterback that Josh Rosen's going to have to sit by. It's literally he is a good quarterback. He has shown signs of being a good quarterback.
I don't know if he's a good quarterback, but he hasn't been given the chance.
No, he hasn't. I think, The other thing is too is he was in a completely uncreative play calling system.
It was like Aaron Rodgers
Arizona.
would have probably been the only quarterback in the league that would have been good last year in the Cardinals. Their system was
I know.
terrible.
Literally no one. So I would like to see Josh Rosen on a football team that actually has a shot.
The problem is, though, even Rosen is going to play this year, I think. And when that happens, the Dolphins are going to be like 0-5 and with a terrible team around him. So he's going to struggle most likely.
Yeah. I'm hoping that it works out for Josh Rosen because I'm actually rooting for him. He seems like a really good guy and somebody that he does have good touch on the ball and he can throw it accurately. So it's just a matter of getting him in the right system. The NFL announced Josh Gordon is eligible to play Week 1 against the Steelers. There was some concern that may or may not be a thing. The Jets waived running back Elijah McGuire. He was picked up and put on, I believe, the Cleveland Browns practice squad. So that shows you how far Elijah McGuire has fallen.
Hop on the Lev Bell train.
That actually, when I saw that, I was like, that's surprising considering he was the RB2 before training camp.
Yeah, he was. Yeah.
And now he's on the practice squad of the Cleveland Browns. So that really does mean that the Lev Bell jump on that train. I still don't think he's going to get enough work to be a top 3 running back. But
I don't disagree with you with that, but I have been kind of saying this for a while. I think he's worth a back end of the first round pick.
Yeah, I agree. Bills released running back LaShawn McCoy. He later that day signed with the Chiefs. And Devin Singletary is now the starter for Week 1, even though he's listed as the RB2 on their depth chart. Don't know why. Probably because they want to give Frank Gore, the veteran, the nod in Game 1. Here we go.
Not again.
Yeah, not again. We will talk about the LaShawn McCoy, Chiefs, Damien Williams repercussions a little bit later in this episode. The Redskins waived Josh Doxson. Their first-round pick, Josh Doxson, waived him. Just said, see you later, boss. He signed with the Vikings later that day. The Rams waived John Kelly, which means that Darrell Henderson has now earned a job.
Wow, look at that.
With the Rams. Malcolm Brown is probably solidified as the RB2 there, so Darrell Henderson is the 3. If you wasted a 7th-round draft choice on Darrell Henderson, I'm sorry.
Yikes.
Broncos placed Theo Riddick officially on injured reserve with a fractured shoulder. The Ravens placed Kenneth Dixon. I cannot talk today. I don't get it. On injured reserve, ending his season, and then they later cut him and came to injury settlement because you can't cut guys that are hurt, and they paid him to leave. I don't know if he's going to be picked up by any other team. He's not a great running back, but he could be a 3rd running back.
Yeah, he could be.
Team.
Yeah.
NFL Network's Ian Rappaport reports that the Chargers have granted holdout running back Melvin Gordon permission to seek a trade. This all happened this weekend, by the way.
Yeah.
Tom Telesco, the GM of the Chargers, informed Melvin Gordon that the contract negotiations were suspended until the end of the season. So it's over. No more negotiations. You either come back, you play, or we trade you. That's kind of what it is right now. And Melvin Gordon has said that he's not going to report for Week 1. So,
oh boy,
it's getting real interesting. I also talked to you about this today. We'll talk a little bit later. I'll give you the repercussions of what I think is going to happen to Melvin Gordon when we get to the Zeke news. But Texans acquired running back Carlos Hyde from the Chiefs in exchange for offensive guard Martinez Rankin. Don't know who that is. Don't know if it matters. 49ers placed running back Jerick McKinnon on injured reserve, ending his season. It literally is awful. If he doesn't get right by next season, I don't think he has a job.
I don't think he's in the NFL.
Yeah, I don't think he's in the NFL anymore. Patriots re-signed Demaryius Thomas after cutting him. The only reason why this was a thing is because they needed to make sure they cut Demaryius Thomas because they didn't know if they were going to put N'Keal Harry on IR. They put N'Keal Harry on IR and then they re-signed Demaryius Thomas. I think the plan was to wait as long as they could to see if N'Keal Harry didn't need to go on IR. And then when they found out, they were like, okay, we're just going to bring back Demaryius Thomas. So one of those, we have to get down to 53 guys, and until we put him on IR, we can't keep Demaryius Thomas type thing. Mm-hmm. They also released Maurice Harris and kept Jacoby Myers, the Patriots. Not that anyone cares about that, but everyone was talking about, for the Patriots, that their wide receiver core was weak, and Jacoby Myers and Maurice Harris were getting hyped up a lot around the Patriots.
Those guys are like the
4th or 5th guys. But Harris was like getting hyped up a lot. That Brady really liked him, and that the coaching staff liked him. Yeah. He's been cut. Coach Jay Gruden reports Monday, or not Coach, he didn't report.
Coach
Jay Gruden told reporters Monday that Darius Geis will get more carries than Adrian Peterson. So if you are a Darius Geis truther, you can stand up and celebrate a little bit.
Because hopefully the offensive line will too.
Yeah. Colts agreed to terms with Jacoby Brissett on a new 2-year deal worth $30 million. So the man gets paid
a lot of money.
Yeah, I'm glad it's only 2 years. Because I'm like, I thought they signed him to like a 4-year deal, and I was like, oh boy,
$30 million a year.
Yeah, that would be ridiculous. And then the final piece of news this weekend was dramatic. Ezekiel Elliott. Okay, so I was in Washington D.C. this past weekend. That's when everything was happening, and I was like in museums and tied to my phone 90% of the time. You can ask my wife.
Like a millennial will do.
Yeah, it's true. And so I got a report, and I was standing in like this like president's museum or something like that. I don't even know what it was. And I literally almost screamed for joy when I saw a report that said Zeke is growing closer to signing a contract. Is that
because he's on your fantasy team?
Yeah, it's because he's on my fantasy team. I did something that I told you all not to do, and I won't discuss it until maybe after the season. But Ezekiel Elliott, basically, they were growing closer to signing a contract, and then they weren't growing closer to signing a contract, and then they were growing closer to signing a contract.
Yeah, it was back and forth.
It was back and forth, and then somebody said that he would get a deal done possibly Sunday. If not Sunday, it would be Monday and Tuesday at the latest. So now we are obviously Tuesday night, and Ezekiel Elliott has still not signed a contract, but apparently reports are that he flew from Cabo, his training facility in Mexico, and is now in Washington D.C. He's in Texas, in Dallas right now. I think he landed like an hour ago. So he and his team are all there. They're getting ready to sign some form of a contract. The reports are that it's a 6-year, $90 million extension. An extension. So that means Zeke would be signed 8 years with the Dallas Cowboys.
That's wild.
All that talk, Jerry Jones. I think Jerry Jones like literally looked in the mirror on like Saturday night and was like, Tony Pollard's our starting running back week 1. Come back, Zeke, please. So Ezekiel Elliott's close to signing. I just wanted to touch on this for a second. Anybody who has Tony Pollard, do you think they should drop him and pick somebody else who's relevant?
I wouldn't do that yet.
Why? I mean, if he signs, like assuming he signs.
Oh, if he signs, yes, yeah, then
I just drop him. Yeah. Some people believe that you should keep him if something happens.
I guess
to
if
Zeke.
you're in a very deep league.
I was gonna say like unless you own the player and you want to handcuff, like I don't start handcuffing guys until 6 weeks into the season. Yeah. I don't handcuff guys until like 6 weeks into the season. So, for me, I think it for right now, if there's other guys on your waiver wire and you need the roster space, I would drop them. But I think, as soon as Zeke signs, all this is over. Like, don't drop Tony Pollard until Zeke signs.
Right.
But in case you're wondering too, if Zeke signs tonight or tomorrow, he still, is eligible to play, and they said that he knows the playbook. He understands what's going on. Jason Garrett said that he would play this week regardless of when he signed the contract. So
what if he signed Saturday?
That's what a lot of people were asking, and I guess it doesn't matter.
Signs it 5 minutes before kickoff.
Coach, wait. I would say there is about from reports and all the stuff going on, I would say there's about a 15% chance. If you asked me this morning, I would have been about a 70% chance that Zeke was going to miss week 1. Now I'm at a 15% chance that Zeke misses week 1.
Wow.
Things could change.
It's a 180.
Things could change. Like they have this entire process.
They have been flip-flopping.
But the intention is to get a deal done today or tomorrow morning so he can practice with the team tomorrow. He can practice whenever he wants, but he doesn't want to do it until he signs a contract. So that's the revolving door that is the Zeke news. This also means repercussions. I told you I was going to talk about this for Melvin Gordon, and I told you this before. If Melvin Gordon was waiting for this hat to drop before he started asking for money, and he was like, I want to see what Zeke gets first, and now he's going around talking to teams. Like
teams will laugh in his face.
Teams are going to laugh in his face, but I think this holdout is going to last the whole season.
Oh, don't say that to me, bro.
I could be very wrong, and there's temptation in me to trade with you and trade with other people in my fantasy league to get Melvin Gordon. But then again, I did this last year with Le'Veon Bell, and I'm not even gonna try.
I know that everybody has that.
It's not even
Bell in the back of the head.
I don't even have a problem because I ended up turning Le'Veon Bell into Mark Ingram in like week 8, so I wasn't even like problematic. I got something for him, but I just don't want to sit there and deal with the drama of having that guy.
Unfortunately,
but he pays dividends. If you keep him, he pays dividends.
Right.
You know what I mean? So unless you had anything else to say on that, we'll move on.
No, I mean you pretty much touched it on everyone who owns Zeke can take a deep breath. You're not quite out of the woods yet, though.
I was like in my office and I fist pumped when I saw the news. I was
like you were watching NFL football today.
Yeah.
You got that excited.
I did. Like I was watching Zeke score a touchdown for my fantasy team. Thank you, Zeke. Let's move into winners and losers from roster cuts on Saturday and Friday. This whole segment's just going to be winners and losers, guys that we think are players that maybe won out on fantasy in terms of cuts and guys that didn't. This includes cuts, trades, and signings that happen over the course of those 3 days span. I might not get to all the trades. I do want to just preliminarily say there was a big deal between the Texans and the Dolphins where they trade Laramie. I don't even remember how to say his name. Laramie Tansel, is that his name?
You're asking the
something
wrong
like
guy.
that. But they traded their franchise left tackle.
Yes, he's a very well respected left tackle, good locker room guy.
To Houston, and I believe that the Texans also traded for
Kenny
Carlos
Stills.
Hyde. Yeah,
Kenny Stills was in that deal.
Kenny Stills was in that deal too with Miami,
and there was also a bunch of draft picks. It was a monster.
Yeah, it was a monster deal. That was actually smart for the Dolphins.
I actually think it was good for both teams.
Like for me, like if I was an NFL,
Houston might have gave up too much.
If I was an NFL GM, the first thing I would look at is like the team and say, okay, what can I rebuild? And the first
they are playing Madden.
That's true. They are playing. Houston's playing Madden.
Both teams in Miami is
the NFL. It literally said, I saw a tweet the other day. It said NFL's playing chess and Houston's playing Houston's playing Madden. But anyway, let's get into our winners and losers. So the number one guy that I saw was a winner. And I woke up because I own this man. I woke up on the morning on Friday. It was 9 o'clock. On Saturday, it was 9 o'clock, and I saw the news that LeSean McCoy had been cut. And I was like, A, we were right. And B, I was like, okay, all right, this is good news for Devin Singletary. I was feeling good that morning. I was like, all right, let's go. So Devin Singletary is the number one winner on our list, and I think it's specifically because LeSean McCoy is probably the biggest guy standing in the way of success for Devin Singletary.
Yep. Well, Frank Gore. We know how he is with taking time from young running backs.
He doesn't go away. He just exists.
He exists to eat off of young running back souls.
There's like
ask Kenyon Drake.
If you want to start the NFL old man roster, I would start with Tom Brady at quarterback and Frank Gore at running back.
It's a pretty good team.
That's my draft right there.
Larry Fitzgerald at receiver.
That's a pretty good team 7 years ago.
Larry Fitzgerald at receiver.
Yeah, there you go.
You make a pretty stacked team.
But a lot of people do have concerns with the fact that, like you said, Frank Gore is there. TJ Yeldon is there. TJ Yeldon has been good when given opportunities.
TJ Yeldon, yeah.
So, and he's a good pass catching back. But you drafted Devin Singletary in the 3rd or 4th round. I don't remember what round it was in. I think it was maybe the 4th.
Who, Buffalo?
Buffalo, yeah.
Yeah.
So you drafted Devin Singletary to be that guy. What I initially think they thought was that, okay, we're going to keep LeSean McCoy. We're going to keep Frank Gore. We're going to sign TJ Yeldon, and then we're going to bring on this young guy, and we're going to develop him, and then when Frank Gore retires and when LeSean McCoy leaves, we'll have a running back for the future. And then when they saw him play and they were like, I think they realized, okay, this guy's more developed than we actually thought. We can make the move of getting rid of LeSean McCoy, which is why 2 or 3 weeks ago there was a report that said they're going to trade or cut him. So I think for Devin Singletary, that shows a lot for him to think, because he's on my fantasy teams, you got to think logically. Not with... Yeah, don't think you can get too excited and then think the guy's gonna, and like there are teams that are probably gonna start him this week. Don't do that. Devin Singletary is going to be one of those guys that is going to take 6 weeks to turn into something eligibly
like Nick Chubb,
similar to Nick Chubb. He's not going to be Nick Chubb. He's not going to be Nick Chubb. We're not saying that. Just as a it's going to, like Miles Sanders, it's going to take the team like 6 to 8 weeks to figure out, this is our guy. So when Devin Singletary gets 4 points this week, don't drop him and be like, oh my God, no. Oh no, Devin Singletary sucks. He's not going to be a trade option for a couple weeks. He's not going to be somebody that you want to cut for a couple weeks, but hold on to him. Know that he's going to be good. I literally 2 days before that news dropped, I was about to drop Devin Singletary because I freaking needed a kicker.
Oh, I wish you did.
Yeah. And I said the reason why I didn't draft a kicker in defense in our draft because I wanted to just get a couple of guys that I wanted to wait on and see what would happen. Those two guys, Darwin Thompson, Devin Singletary, and I waited on them, and Darwin Thompson really didn't work out too much. We'll talk about that in a second, but Devin Singletary did. So
yes,
in the end, I love Devin Singletary.
Yeah, you should check out our YouTube video.
Yeah,
that we put about Singletary like
4 or 5 weeks ago.
Yeah, we were like, Singletary is a good late round option. But it's true. I mean, oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, do you have any thoughts on Devin Singletary? Or should I just continue rambling on about my love?
I mean, you can. I will let you ramble about your boy.
I'm good.
Okay. If you drafted Devin Singletary in like the 13th round,
yeah,
like a lot of people did, I think you took him in our league. I think you took him in the 12th or 13th round.
12th, 13th, yeah.
I mean, you got to be feeling pretty good. Because I know I don't think he's like gone up crazy value because I am scared of Frank Gore. He is the soul killer. He is the young running back killer.
Yep.
I think they'll probably
end murders.
Yeah, I think so. I think Singletary will start.
Yeah,
and I think he'll probably get like maybe 54 to like 40.
Okay.
For like carries from Singletary to Frank Gore, like he'll get slightly more carries than Frank Gore, but it'll be kind of close.
Yeah.
And then TJ Yeldon will be more like a third down back situation.
Yeah, I think he'll just be a change of pace. I don't even think a third down. Like they'll bring him in on passing downs possibly. Don't invest in TJ Yeldon.
No, I wouldn't be crazy about TJ Yeldon either. My hope is though,
there's a bunch of people that added TJ Yeldon.
What if the Bills actually do what the Dolphins didn't and barely use Frank Gore?
I think it'll take a couple weeks for them to do that. But if they do, and Devin Singletary, because when he was at FAU, he was a 3-down back, so he can be a workhorse. Like he is a workhorse, and he's good to pass. He's a good pass catcher. So
they're the type of team that's going to run the ball a lot too.
Right.
I think
if they're smarter than the Adam Gase, which it's not hard to do, they'll probably utilize. I love Frank Gore as a player. I just don't. Don't
get it twisted.
Yeah, don't get it twisted. But I think it's over for him, and he's just kind of sticking around. Like I was hoping he would retire. But do you think that Frank Gore has any standalone fantasy value in terms of some other people would say yes.
I think his value went up, but I still wouldn't
like. Is he worth? See, for me, I'm not really interested in old players. Like some guys are very interested in the Larry Fitzgeralds of the world. Not that he's a bad player or anything, but like they're just
at that spot at the end of your bench, you're looking for breakout.
Which
it's hard to do for an old guy.
In our league, there was a guy who picked up Demaryius Thomas, and it's this guy might still be good in a good system, but it's more or less for me like Demaryius Thomas is done.
Yeah, what's the guy's ceiling?
You know what I mean? Yeah, that's always what I ask especially with bench spots. Right. What's the ceiling of the player that you're picking up? You know what I mean? We got to move on. This is a hotly tested debate in the fantasy football community. So it's obvious that this is the case for both guys that I'm about to list. After LaShawn McCoy left the Bills, he signed later on with the Kansas City Chiefs. So I have a loser on my list as Damien Williams / Darwin Thompson.
Yes.
I'll say this right now. I am a Darwin Thompson lover / truther till the day I die, but I realize how bad this is for Darwin Thompson. This was a indictment on him. It was we like this 6th round running back, but we do not believe he can be the guy yet. The fantasy football community jumped on it. I jumped on it. Everyone got excited. I jumped on the train before everyone else did. I was there.
You were controlling the engines.
Darwin Thompson is still worth a flyer in the 15th round in drafts if you haven't drafted yet. This is in case LaShawn McCoy doesn't get the playbook or whatever. Which he's gonna get it. I mean, but if somebody, there's a chance that LaShawn McCoy doesn't work out, he's just too old, and that Damien Williams gets hurt, And there is a chance that Darwin Thompson could jump into into some kind of role in the Chiefs offense. So that's why I would say a 15th round flyer. But for me, I'll bite the bullet and say that didn't work out this year, and that's totally fine. Like, I accept that, and that's the reality.
Like, I think what's the chances of LaShawn McCoy staying more than 1 year?
Not likely. I mean, how long was the deal?
It's a 1 year contract.
1 year. Yeah, I don't think he's going to stay for longer than that.
I think
he's
Darwin
31
Thompson,
years old. Like, how much longer can he play?
I mean, Frank Gore is 37. I think Darwin Thompson, like,
he is eternal.
If you're in like Dynasty League, like,
Darwin Thompson. Keep Darwin Thompson.
Like, I think he'll be good in the future. This year, I just don't.
Yeah, there's no
after
standalone.
LaShawn McCoy.
To me, like, I dropped him, and I don't, unless somebody gets hurt, I don't think, like, if Damien Williams got hurt, God forbid, I would go out and try to snag Darwin Thompson. But at this point, I don't think there's any standalone value for Darwin Thompson at this point. I do think this is an indictment on Damien Williams as well, because Andy Reid, and now there are people who believe, and I think you are the other side of this argument. There are certain people that believe that Damien Williams will keep the starting role, and not only will keep the starting role, but will be the same type of back that he is right now. He's going to be a top 3 round back, and he's going to stay in that category, and we don't have to worry. And that LaShawn McCoy was just brought in as veteran presence and as a backup, and that's all he was. That's all he is. He's more of an indictment on Darwin Thompson than he is on Damien Williams, that type of thing. So if you're in the crowd that believes that LaShawn McCoy was brought in here to not be utilized, you're crazy.
Okay.
So here's why. You don't pay, and I hate to go through the talking points that you probably heard a million times, but you do not pay a running back $2 to $3 more million than the guy you want to start if you're not going to utilize him. Like, there are people who think that Ezekiel Elliott, after he signs his freaking $90 million deal over the course of 8 years, that Tony Pollard's going to get work and that people should be concerned about that. And I'm like, they're paying him $90 million. They're not going to... That's like buying a car that's extremely expensive and not utilizing it, just letting it sit there.
Is
like,
$4 million that expensive?
It's not that expensive. I'm just saying that Damien Williams was not much. Everyone got excited when they extended Damien Williams. They're like, oh, they believe in this guy. And then they bring in LaShawn McCoy. And to me, I think with Damien Williams' hamstring injury, with the stuff surrounding his attitude and all that stuff, like, I don't think there was much I don't think there were problems with his attitude, but there was just something about Damien Williams at the beginning.
Is it just scratching you the wrong way? Is that what it is? Before
camp, Andy Reid was like, Damien Williams. He's the starter. He's the workhorse. He's the 3-down back. He's this. He's that. He was all excited. Camp started. Hurts his hamstring. Misses 14 days of training camp. He goes, I'm not liking this. And then he gets pissed off. And then Darwin Thompson jumps up in the lineup. Carlos Hyde, I don't know if you remember, first week of camp, he was saying that Carlos Hyde was having a better camp than Damien Williams, and that Damien Williams needed to report, and that he sounded frustrated that Damien Williams had not participated because of his hamstring injury and all that stuff. And then Carlos Hyde, obviously we know what happened. He got cut. I could pull out all the reports if you want me to, because you're making faces, but that actually happened. So they cut Carlos Hyde, or got rid of Carlos Hyde. They traded him away to Houston, right?
Okay.
So now Damien Williams, sit here. I'm going on a rant. I need to stop. Damien Williams is now sitting here as the main back, and Darwin Thompson is the 2, and everyone is freaking out about Darwin Thompson. So what does Andy Reid do? He goes out and gets LaShawn McCoy. So you're telling me that they're not going to utilize LaShawn McCoy?
I'm not saying they're not going to utilize him. So here I think
I just don't.
You said I'm on the other side of the argument. I'm not necessarily.
Damien Williams is a bust.
The other side. I actually agree with you on that. From where he was getting drafted, right? Like in our league, he was a 2nd-round pick.
Right.
To me, that he's going to be a bust when it comes to that. He's not going to be a 2nd-round talent.
Right.
But to say he's like going to be useless now,
I don't think he's going to be useless. I just think the type of player that
you don't think he's going to start.
Here's the thing: is if you're sitting there, I think he's going to start. Yes.
Okay.
I have a question for you though. If you're sitting there, you told me earlier today, you said he's a 4th, 5th, 6th round pick, right?
He's somewhere in that range. Yeah.
When you're sitting there in the 5th or 6th round, what are you looking for? A player with upside. Am I wrong?
For the most part, yeah.
Does Damien Williams have that amount of upside. Like, a lot of people drafted Damien Williams with a second or third round pick because they believe Damien Williams can be an RB1 this year. What percentage would you put on Damien Williams being an RB1?
It's a lot lower now with LeSean McCoy.
See, I don't think he can do it at all.
I don't know about that. At all?
Yeah, I told everyone at the beginning of this, don't draft Damien Williams because he's going to be a bust, and it's literally happening before our eyes, but the truthers don't believe it. Now, I could be wrong. I could be very wrong.
Are you just a hater?
I am a hater of Damien Williams,
gosh.
yes. I'm bitter. I picked up Spencer Ware last year as my handcuff, and he sucked. Damien Williams came in. I also want to note to the fantasy football people, because I know you're not one of those people that believe, you're like, oh, Frank Gore sucked. Why would you think that he's going to be good? Mm-hmm. LeSean McCoy had his most success with one man, and that man's by the name of Andy Reid. Andy Reid was coaching the Philadelphia Eagles when LeSean McCoy had some of the best years of his career.
He's also in the prime of his career.
He was also in the prime of his career, right. So a lot of people are saying that he's a 31-year-old running back that averaged 3.2 yards a carry and like had his worst career year in like 5 different categories, right? Mm-hmm. So that's people's argument to saying that he's not going to be the starter Damien Williams is. But you could also make the argument on the flip side that it's for running backs, it's all about system and it's all about situation. I don't think the Buffalo Bills was a good situation for LeSean McCoy. Going back to a very good offense in Kansas City, if he averages 3.2 yards a carry and like has a terrible year, he's bad. He's just not good anymore. He's done. But that's not going to happen. I think it's system related, and I think that's why he sucked last year.
I think it's partly system related.
But when Damien Williams was with Miami, was he any good?
No, but
so the flip side.
Yeah.
I'm just saying. I'm saying
that,
it's the Chiefs system, and now they're saying that they're going to be.
So who fits the Chiefs system more, though?
I think they both do.
Who fits it more?
But I think LeSean McCoy is the better pass catcher and the better runner.
See, I don't. Runner, you might be right.
If I talk to
not
you,
pass catcher.
If I talked to you a year ago about Damien Williams, the third string running back, and I said that you would be saying right now that Damien Williams is a better pass catcher than LeSean McCoy, you would be like, wow, that's not true. I would never say something like that. Damien Williams was a third-string running back last year.
Sure.
What do people not get about that?
He's not Tom Brady was a backup quarterback. That means absolutely nothing.
He's not a good running back. He has been in the league for 6 years or 5 years or whatever it is, and he only has 200 carries over the course of his entire career.
You know that doesn't mean he's not necessarily
that great.
That could just mean opportunity.
I think he's worked in like 4 games for the Chiefs as a starter, but overall, I don't think he's going to be good this year.
You actually
I think he's going to be a high-end RB3. That's it. At best. At best.
All right, can I make my argument now?
Yeah, go ahead. I'm done. I don't like Damien Williams. Don't draft him.
I can tell.
Do not draft Damien Williams.
Draft him. If
I was gonna actually say right now, Damien Williams' value is so low. If you are in a fantasy league, I would. I mean, obviously, you're in a fantasy league. You're listening to podcasts.
So if
I would say I would go after Damien Williams as a buy candidate right now. Like I already tried.
Even though you just said he's trash and isn't low end RB3 and all that.
Yeah. I would. Well, I think the other side of it too is that he does. He as much as I don't like him and I think he's a bust, there is upside. And if you can get him right, because I doubt
you just said that.
Hold on. I doubt a team who gave up a second round pick is going to do this. Okay. But if you can get Damien Williams at a value that is really low, like shoot to trade for him while he's low, and I'm wrong, right? Which could be very possible. Like I'm willing to take the risk that I'm wrong, pick up Damien Williams and put him on my bench, and then if he ends up being what you're saying, then I end up being right. Every player has a buy low for me, and I think right now Damien Williams is a buy low candidate.
I'm not saying Damien Williams is going to be worth the second round pick. But to call him trash...
See, I don't think he's a 4th or 5th round pick either. I think he might be a 6th or a 7th. But you know what he reminds me of? Derrick Henry.
I'd say 5th. Well, so, okay. Let's also... Before we get really deep into this discussion, I think we need to address a few things. One, what league are you playing in? If you're playing in a standard league, I think that changes things. If you're in a half PPR or PPR, especially a full PPR league, I think Damien Williams is worth a 4th round pick. Because I think they're going to use him a lot in the passing game. I mean, look at the 3rd preseason game. He had like a 71-yard touchdown off an RB. Like, he rolled out to the left. Mahomes gave it to him.
Yeah.
71-yard touchdown. But that's happened. I mean, look at when Kareem Hunt was a running back. They had a lot of screens. They love to use the running backs in the passing game. And Damien Williams is an excellent pass-catching back.
See, I feel like this is my whole situation with the Kansas City backfield. I understand that he's a good pass-catching back, but my situation with the entire Chiefs backfield is that if you normally have an RBBC sitting in front of you, you're drinking from a straw right now, you killer.
Iced tea.
If you have Damien Williams on your fantasy team, and I don't even remember what I was saying.
Because I was drinking from the straw.
Yeah, it was because you were drinking from the straw.
I'm sorry, boss.
No, that's all right. Continue with what you were saying. Maybe I'll get it back.
I think it was pass catching. Anyway, Damien Williams, to me, is still going to be worth it.
Yeah.
If you're in a standard league, it's a little different, I guess. I think he's going to be the starter. I don't think LaShawn McCoy is going to play a full 16 games. When was the last time LaShawn McCoy played a full 16 games?
When was the last time Damien Williams played a full 16 games?
Touche. Here's the thing, though.
No, I get it.
Damien Williams has been a backup running back, though.
No, I understand that.
How many times has he not played 16 because of
4 days in the camp, he had a hamstring injury.
Right, but he's going to be
hamstring injuries linger. Like, I feel like he's going to be dealing with that all year.
You said 4 days into camp?
Yeah, something like that.
That's a long time ago now.
We'll see. We'll see. I mean,
you said yourself you think Damien Williams is still going to be the starter going into this.
I think Damien Williams is still going to be the starter.
So
I think it's going to be an RBBC, and that is my big thing. Is that normally we would advise to avoid an RBBC, and especially if because LaShawn McCoy can be a good pass catching back. So that doesn't mean that automatically Damien Williams is going to go. Like some teams have, like the Patriots. Sonny Michel's a good pass catching back, but they don't utilize him that way. They utilize him on the ground, and then they have James White. That's not how the Chiefs are going to do it. We've just the interesting thing about this whole situation is, and this is why I'm not buying any of the Chiefs running backs. Like, I'm not going after McCoy. I'm not going in drafts. I'm not going after McCoy. I'm not going after Damien Williams. I'm avoiding it as entirely, is because Andy Reid has never touched the RBBC thing before, and now he's doing it. So, he's going to do it's proof by signing LaShawn McCoy. He's doing that. So how does he utilize it? Is he going to do it like LaShawn McCoy on the ground, Damien Williams in the air? Is he going to put Damien Williams in there for 50% of the time and LaShawn McCoy in there for 50% of the time? I think Damien Williams still has fantasy value, but the value is not that high anymore.
Well, of course, he's not
worth a second round pick. He's not worth a third round pick. He's not even in a PPR. Even in a PPR, he's not worth a fourth round pick to me. I avoid scary running back situations, and this is one of those scary running back situations that I want to avoid.
I get your argument, but
that's
if you are going to draft an RBBC,
yeah.
Wouldn't you want it to be an offense like the Kansas City Chiefs?
No, I know. That's the hard part about it.
And NFL.
And ultimately, I think after 8 weeks, somebody's going to emerge from that backfield, and I don't know who it is.
I don't think it's going to be LaShawn McCoy. I don't.
It could be.
I think Darwin Thompson has good chance.
Here's the thing.
I'm just not high on McCoy. I think that's
who's the better all-around back, LaShawn McCoy or Damien Williams?
I think when healthy, probably LaShawn McCoy.
So if he was to go back to a three down featured running back, like between the two of those guys, I think it would be LaShawn McCoy because he's the better all-around back. If he stays healthy for a full 16-game season, I think that's the guy he would go with. He knows the system. He understands what's going on.
Doesn't it feel though just like LaShawn McCoy is being added as like a veteran? Like he's not there to get 15 carries.
I think the Chiefs have been looking for somebody to fill that role, and they haven't found anyone. Like it's just
I think they want it to be.
I think
Damien.
the assumption
is that fair that they want it to be?
I don't think they want it to be Damien
or Darwin. I don't think they want to bring in LaShawn McCoy and make him the workhorse.
See, I think Andy Reid did because
Andy Reid might, but the team wants a young guy to come in and like a career punt.
Right. I referenced this when I did Damien Williams research in the past, and we got to move on. But when I did Damien Williams research in the past, I referenced a couple seasons ago when Kareem Hunt broke out and had a big. They should not have gotten Kareem Hunt. The Chiefs they did the right thing.
They kind of had to.
They kind of had to at the time, but they could have just let him be suspended for like half a season and then been okay. Never mind. Anyway, they got Damien. Kareem Hunt started playing for the Chiefs 2 years ago. They drafted him in like the 3rd round. That season before they drafted him, Spencer Ware who was the guy before that? It was Jamal Charles. Jamal Charles came in, he left, and then the guy that in that season split was supposed to be Spencer Ware. He played like one game before Kareem Hunt ripped the job out of his soul and like ran all over the field. So
right.
They usually what happens is they usually find a running back relatively quickly, especially in Andy Reid offenses. But they usually have a young running back that they get in the 3rd, 4th round. This year they drafted Thompson in the 6th, and he could have arguably been a 3rd or 4th round back had he played for a D1 school longer than 1 year. So I think they have that in Darwin Thompson, but I think at the same time they're just kind of looking at it going, okay, this guy's just too young. He's not there yet. You know what I mean? We don't think he's there yet. And I think that's why they brought in LaShawn McCoy. But I do think that this is going to be... I mean, Andy Reid said it in a press conference yesterday. He said Damien Williams and LaShawn McCoy are both starters. And in the end, those two guys are going to be there. Yes, Damien Williams still has standalone fantasy value, but I don't think he's worth a 2nd, 3rd, 4th, or 5th round pick.
One last thing I'll say about Damien Williams. Right now, NFL.com, in PPR leagues, he's going, I think, late 7th round. Last I checked. Because I did a draft last night.
NFL.com is such trash.
I know it's NFL.com, but like there's a lot of sites right now where he's going 7th, 8th round.
Right.
You have to draft him.
Yeah.
At that spot. I think you need to take advantage of the panic. I think there's a lot of panic right now with Damien Williams.
Yeah. There's not a lot of drafts left, so
I know, but even if you drafted him in the 2nd round, don't just get rid of him either.
Yeah.
Play this out. Be patient. Relax.
Could be also a massive bust.
I get it. I get it.
I did my rounds on Twitter. So, number 3, our winner, Deshaun Watson. In the trade with the Miami Dolphins where they got Laramie Tunsil, I think his name is.
Yeah, we'll just say that.
They got I don't know. They literally got one of the best left tackles, and they pulled off Will Fuller as well.
You mean Kenny Stills? Kenny
Stills, I'm sorry. Kenny Stills is going to be the 3rd wide receiver. That was more of an indictment
draft picks,
on
right?
Keke Coutee. Yeah, who needs draft picks? Just give them all away for a franchise left tackle.
Which I mean,
to protect LaShawn McCoy. Deshaun Watson.
you got Chiefs on your mind.
I got Chiefs on my mind. But Deshaun Watson is a winner through cut weekend. I'll call it cut weekend. Sure. Sounds kind of weird. But he was a winner this weekend, more specifically because they brought in a left tackle, they brought in another wide receiver, and now they also brought in Carlos Hyde too. So it's like
depth move.
They got a couple of pieces there to put around Deshaun Watson, and like if you didn't already believe that Deshaun Watson could finish as the number 1 quarterback in fantasy this year, you should now. Like. I know there's a lot of people that are still holding on to Mahomes,
including myself.
Watson,
I have Deshaun Watson on my fantasy team, and I still love Mahomes so much more.
Oh God,
I love Deshaun Watson though, and I think the biggest move was the left tackle. It wasn't Kenny Stills, it wasn't Carlos Hyde. That left tackle's huge. That offensive line has struggled, especially last season. It's going to be very, very important for him to kind of fill that role. Yeah. Not only to fill in the offensive line, but kind of like help the rest of the guys go along. He's known as a locker room presence. So that's going to be a real key.
Yeah.
But honestly, even Kenny Stills, like your receiving core, the Texans probably have the best receiving core in football.
Maybe.
It's arguable.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Kenny Stills, Keke, Will Fuller, DeAndre Hopkins. Yeah, those 4 guys that's a very, very good foursome. So, I mean, I think Deshaun Watson right now has all of the tools to be the best fantasy quarterback.
Yeah.
I mean, and even if he's not, I think he's going to be top 3 and barring any injury.
Yeah.
They're going to throw the ball a lot, too, this year. A lot.
Right. So, in the same discussion, we'll also throw in loser, Keke Coutee and Will Fuller.
Yes, fantasy-wise.
They say Will Fuller is going to be in the same role. I don't believe it.
I think he probably will to an extent.
This is more of a huge... there was a large community of people that loved Keke Coutee, and they were super excited about Keke Coutee. I did like him last year, and I liked him this year, but I think the excitement got too... I think he became at one point like a 9th round pick.
That's too much.
And the excitement got way too high on Keke Coutee. And so what's interesting to me is that I think the Kenny Stills thing is not an indictment on Will Fuller at all. I think it's more or less an indictment on
I don't even
Keke
know if it's an
Coutee.
indictment. I think it's just them just stacking up.
Yeah, I guess so. But Keke Coutee is now the 4th wide receiver on the roster. So
Yeah.
to me, like, he's not even... If you have him on your fantasy team, just drop him. It's not even worth keeping him. I mean, Will Fuller might get hurt, and he might be the wide receiver.
If you're in a deep league, I would keep him just for that because I think Will Fuller. I mean, it stinks to say, but he's been hurt every year of his career.
Yeah, that's true. But I think the big loser is Keke Coutee and possibly Will Fuller.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens with
Just
that.
because there's only so many targets that can go around. But if Houston throws it as much as like Pittsburgh did last year, could you see like a possibility of all 4 guys being in fantasy play?
No.
Like, I mean, last year we saw Brandon Cooks.
Maybe Will Fuller and DeAndre Hopkins, but not all 4 guys.
What about 3 of the 4? If they throw the ball a lot. And Watson has like
it's going to be hard.
An MVP type season.
It's going to be hard. It's not. They're not going to throw it nearly as much as like Kansas City or Pittsburgh. Or
they might, dude. They really might.
He doesn't throw it that much though. Remember,
that's true.
He's a
They'll do like
quarterback,
a.
too.
Yeah, but he's throw first.
I don't. On no team is it possible to get all 3 guys.
No. But if
involved.
there's gonna be a team this year, it's Houston.
Like Los Angeles last year, maybe did it, but that's only because multiple guys got hurt.
Yeah, right. Cooper got hurt.
So, we'll see what
It's
happens.
possible. I honestly think it's possible. Not all 4, but like to have 3 of the 4 guys have solid fantasy seasons.
Yeah. Number 5, winner Matt Breida.
Ooh.
Now, I put Matt Breida on this list more specifically because Jerick McKinnon was placed on IR. And I do believe, as much as people are holding on to the Tevin Coleman train, I think it will take...
Including you.
It will take the 40... No. It'll take the 40...
You drafted McKinnon Coleman in one of our mocks.
I did. Just because he's the starting running back for 49ers right now.
That's fair.
But Breida, I think when it comes down to it, if they want a workhorse, it's going to be Matt Breida.
I don't know. I don't know about that.
I think that Tevin Coleman's just not it. I think he's always been a number 2 running back. And I think that's what, like last year, that what you get, like your offense in Atlanta is really good. And Tevin Coleman couldn't produce more than like 10 points a week in a standard league. You know what I mean? Like he didn't have massive upside. He wasn't a guy that you thought could break out. And now he goes to basically the same exact system in the 49ers. And you are thinking he's going to be like this big. I don't think so. I think that Matt Breida showed signs of being a really good running back last year, and that he can be a 3-down back. And I think that there's a possibility that he can do that. And if the I was going to say the Tevin Colemans, if the 49ers give him that opportunity, he'll take advantage of it. But it's just a matter of seeing that.
So my problem with Breida, I actually really love Breida, but just like I don't know if he can be a workhorse necessarily. He's kind of tiny. I think he's perfect if you have somebody to complement him. I think Coleman actually would be a good complement, but I would say Breida is the guy over Tevin Coleman.
Yeah.
And did you know this was updated today? Actually, you know who's the starter on the depth chart?
Who?
It's now Matt Breida. It was Tevin Coleman, but
interesting.
Yeah, their depth chart says Matt Breida will be the starter for week 1.
So Matt Breida is 195 pounds and 5'9". Yeah, he's a little bit small.
That's actually bigger than I thought. I thought he was like 5'8", 180.
He needs to bulk up a little bit.
I mean,
I don't disagree with you. I just think that out of that,
I think he could get
with Jerick McKinnon now, like basically done. Like I think the only reason why they're keeping him on is because they have a lot of money that they owe him. For me, I think Breida is probably going to be like he is at this point. If they have to choose a running back, he's probably it.
You think he could be like a Tariq Cohen, but with slightly more carries?
Yeah.
See, I agree. And if he does that, he's actually worth like he's an easy flex. He might even be an RB2.
Yeah, and he wasn't even that great of a pass catcher in college.
No, but he was last year.
He was good. He was very good last year.
So yeah, if you had Matt Breida, you probably drafted him in like the 10th round, right? 10th, 11th round.
Yeah.
And now, I mean, you could legitimately start him week 1.
Right.
Especially in PPR.
So the final one, the last loser, we'll just do this one relatively quickly. We put the entire Dolphins team.
Yes,
everyone on the Dolphins. Everyone on the Dolphins. Actually, losing one of your best left tackles hurts Kalen Ballage and Kenyon Drake.
Yep.
It hurts Ryan Fitzpatrick, which in turn hurts the receivers.
Yep.
I think the only guy that maybe got a bump was Albert Wilson. because now he's the number 2 wide receiver.
Yep.
And Preston Williams, which I don't know if you've heard of him yet, but he was the 4th or 5th wide receiver and won a job, and now he's the 3rd guy on the team. So keep an eye on Preston Williams. He could be one of your 3rd wide receiver breakout players.
Is there anyone on the Dolphins now that you would, other than Kenyon Drake?
Kenyon Drake is only it.
And even him, I think he's going down slowly.
Well, I don't know about going down slowly. We'll see how he plays in a game first.
That's true, I know. But the left tackle thing hurts,
I think Laramie the left tackle was holding out. That's why they ended up trading him, and he wasn't playing.
Was he holding out?
Yeah. So they played the entire preseason without him, and Kenyon Drake still looked okay. So obviously
preseason.
Yeah, it's preseason, it's vanilla, but we'll see what happens. But the whole entire Dolphins offense kind of lost on that one. So let's get into our personal top 3 breakouts. We'll just go back and forth on these really quickly.
Okay.
My number 1 breakout player, I've been talking about him for months. This started at infancy. Be like that guy from ESPN. I've been watching this guy since high school.
Oh, gosh.
I have not been watching this guy since high school. But David Montgomery is my number 1 breakout player, and I'll tell you why. And a lot of people would be like, why isn't it Josh Jacobs? I'm not going to tell you why on that point. But David Montgomery is one of my breakout players, only specifically because he's going to get an insane amount of work. Like, he's going to get an insane amount of touches, insane amount of work. He's going to put together I think he's going to put together a great rookie campaign. And I don't want to say, I don't want to get too hot into my take.
Uh-oh.
But I do think he has the chance and the upside to be at least, not at least, but I think he has the chance of being an RB1 this year. And I don't think that is like super crazy hot takey, but like, do you remember Alvin Kamara, Kareem Hunt's breakout season where they finished like top 4, top 5?
Yes.
There was a possibility for that for me with this guy.
You are in love with Montgomery.
I love David Montgomery. You remember when I started watching film on running backs, I watched David Montgomery and I was like, oh, I really like this guy. I hope he ends up with a good team. And I said the perfect fit for him, this was like 3 nights before the draft, I said the perfect fit for him is the Chicago Bears. And he got drafted by the Bears, and then slowly he's worked into that number 1 feature role. Mike Davis right now, according to ESPN and NFL.com, is 3rd on the depth chart right now. So I think David Montgomery is going to start week 1. I think he's going to get 16 to 18 touches, and I think he could probably put up 100 yards and a touchdown and start showing you why he's good. I also root for him in his personal story, and I love David Montgomery. Breakout player. Got it.
I like David Montgomery too, but not as much as you.
Who's your breakout?
I got Kerryon Johnson, number 1 on my list. Ooh. Just dropped my phone. My bad. Anyway, Kerryon Johnson, number 1. For me, I mean, we've both been actually on the Kerryon Johnson trade for a while. I think hopefully the Lions utilize him the way he should be, because this guy can be a total workhorse. And if the Lions do utilize him the way he should be, he will be a total workhorse. Last season, his rookie season, he didn't.
Keywords: if the Lions utilize him,
that actually is legit. That's a legitimate worry. I'm not even joking. But last season, Kerryon averaged 5.4 yards per carry when he was out there. Very, very good. His season got cut short a little bit because of injuries, and they didn't even start him the whole time because LeGarrette Blount was there.
Yeah.
This season, they brought in C.J. Anderson to be kind of a mentor. He's not going to be taking a lot of snaps, hopefully, from Kerryon.
You know how they love those bricks.
Right, but Theo Reddick's gone
like
now
to
too.
Stack the line with a wall and just have somebody run through it.
Kerryon Johnson's going to be the focal point of that offense.
Especially with the passing work
and
that he's going to get.
I was trying to look it up on my phone. I saw a stat the other day that they were showing 2018 fantasy points per game or points per touch. It was points per touch. And Kerryon, I think, was like 1.4.
Yeah, in full PPR.
Which was higher than McCaffrey.
Yep.
Kamara.
Yep.
He was like top 5 in the league.
Yeah, I mean, if he gets, I've talked about points per opportunity or points per touch before, and if Kerryon Johnson gets that 1 point,
that's what I'm saying. It's literally only thing that
it's the passing work that is got to get him there. But I think it
with
will.
Theo Reddick gone,
it's going to happen.
It's going to happen. The only concern is the Lions. His arch enemy right now is his own team. But like I said, he's
capped to me by his ability to produce in the red zone. That's about it.
See, I don't even know about that.
Because if CJ Anderson, they brought him in and they're paying him money, they're going to utilize him in some way. And I think it's to be a bowling ball in the red zone.
Goal line versus red zone. Maybe goal line. You might see that.
Like he'll lose work there. But I think
he'll still get. I think he can
CJ Anderson scores enough touchdowns to take away from Kerryon to kind of temper people in terms of, like, for me, if they don't utilize CJ Anderson at all and Kerryon Johnson is a 3-down workhorse, then you win. But like it being in a realistic sense of predicting like what a team's going to do and how a player is gonna play, I would be of the mind to think that the Detroit Lions are going to utilize C.J. Anderson in the red zone and on the goal line to try to get the ball.
I don't necessarily disagree with you.
I think that work's just going to get stolen from Kerryon. I don't want it to be. I like Kerryon Johnson, but I just think that's what's going to end up happening. I think
he could still, even with that happening, get 10 touchdowns. And the amount of yards he can get.
All-purpose?
Yes, all-purpose touchdowns. Because I think he'll get a few receivers.
Zeke had 8 boss last year.
I actually think Kerryon will be a Zeke type player. Like I think he'll get a lot of yards.
There's a real possibility that he gets 1,700 yards this year. Not Zeke like Zeke gets 2,100 yards.
Yeah,
he's insane. But Kerryon gets 1,700 yards this year, all purpose. Like maybe he gets like 1,200 rushing yards and maybe 500 to 600 passing yards or receiving yards, I should say. And I think that he gets that, but then he's capped by his touchdowns. And I think that is kind of like
he could still be an RB1 though. Depending on how many touchdowns you think he's capped by, like how many. Like
and I think this is a realistic projection. Like if I pull up Fantasy Pros, consensus projections for everyone, you will probably see 6 to 7 touchdowns for Kerryon Johnson. Now that's where I would kind of think he is. If he gets 1,600 yards and 6 or 7 touchdowns, you're talking about
he'll get more than 6 or 7 TDs.
190 to 195 fantasy points is where I would kind of see him at. That is that's not an unruly projection either. That's high end RB2. If what you said is right, then he can finish as an RB1 this year.
I mean,
like I said, it's touchdowns. The difference between him being an RB1 and an RB2 is touchdowns.
Both the guys we've talked about, I think, like Montgomery too. You have to worry about Tariq Cohen. I think will get involved a lot, especially in the passing game and stuff. And then for Kerryon, it's C.J. Anderson, but both those guys are third-round picks.
I'm playing devil's advocate because I think Kerryon Johnson's going to be a breakout. I'm just trying to temper excitement for people.
Yes. Oh well, yeah. I mean, I wouldn't go crazy on Kerryon.
There were 2 guys for me that I was thinking about it today. 2 guys that I think are going to be breakouts that people are going to buy so high on with a potential bust, and that's Kerryon and who's the other guy?
Who is the
gone?
Other guy?
Gone, but I did have Kerryon on that list.
Okay,
he's going to be one of those guys that everyone buys.
Some people are like that.
Oh, it's probably Marlon Mack. That's what I was thinking of.
Some people are like that though with Kerryon, and he's like flying up boards. He's early or late second round pick all of a sudden. But like some leagues, dude.
Yeah, right.
In our league, he fell to the 4th round.
Yeah. Well, that's basically a 3rd round pick for our league.
I know, but I mean,
because you were 401.
But I don't think he would have been the next guy off the board. I think he would have fell a few more spots if I didn't take him. I've done a lot of. I mean, we've both done a lot of mocks, but he's been going in like the 4th round in a lot of leagues. I think that's fantastic value for Kerryon Johnson. You're pumping your fist. What's going on?
So Zeke's agent landed, and they asked him how close the contract negotiations were, and he said very, very close. I love you. No, I do. Like I said, I'm simply playing devil's advocate. I really do love Kerryon Johnson. I think he's going to be a breakout guy. But RB2, realistically, I think he's going to be a high end RB2. That's probably realistic. But if he does do what you're saying, then he has RB1 potential,
breakout potential. Yeah.
He has that Joe Mixon jump from 5th round from last year into the top 10. My second guy is Tyler Lockett. Now, this is a little bit of a surprise for me personally because in the last couple of weeks, I've kind of, they cut Jaron Brown, then they brought Jaron Brown back. One of their other backup wide receivers got hurt. DK Metcalf is playing week 1, but he's dealing with an assortment of injuries. So right now, Tyler Lockett is the man's. Who are the Seahawks going to throw it to besides Chris Carson? Who are they going to throw it to? They don't have a sufficient tight end.
Nope.
DK Metcalf is a rookie, and he probably doesn't have that connection with Russell Wilson
He'll
yet.
probably get
and the only guy
targets,
left in that offense is Tyler Lockett. I'm sorry. And so for me, I think, is there a possibility? Is it out of the realm of possibility for Tyler Lockett to get 140 targets this year?
No. And honestly, if you watched a lot of Seahawks games last year,
yeah.
Unfortunately for me, I did have Tyler Lockett last year, which was hell for somebody who was trying to convince people to take him,
to go after him.
And he kept scoring touchdowns, and then 1 week he'll get like 5 points, and it was impossible. Anyway, I watched a lot of Tyler Lockett last year.
Right.
One thing I can say about Tyler Lockett is Russell Wilson trusts him.
Oh, a lot, yeah.
Like, he might be, especially with Doug Baldwin gone, he is his go-to guy. There's no doubt about it. Third downs, late in the game, he's looking for Tyler Lockett. And you're telling me right now, with the Seattle
Basically
offense,
nobody there,
right, that he's not gonna get involved.
It's hard for me to believe that Tyler Lockett's not going to be involved in that passing game.
My only concern is the Seahawks do have a history of, especially Russell Wilson. He likes to spread the ball, and they don't throw the ball a ton. They actually run the ball the most in the NFL, I think, behind Baltimore, or them and Baltimore are the two most. So they don't throw the ball a ton anyway. Yeah. But when they do, they're going to be looking for Tyler Lockett.
He was one of the most hyper efficient wide receivers in the NFL last year. He had when Russell Wilson targeted Tyler Lockett last year, I believe his passer rating was the best in the NFL. I don't know if that's
we all thought
entirely
it was kind of
accurate.
A fluke.
It was way too efficient. That's why in the beginning of the offseason I was like, don't buy Lockett, don't buy Lockett, don't buy Lockett, because the efficiency was going to drop.
The efficiency is going to drop still, but like his targets also
that's
might go way
the
up.
thing that's not going to regress is how many targets he gets. Right. And if he gets that amount of targets, and he was, do you know how many fantasy points per catch he had? I believe that's the metric. Or no, fantasy points per target.
Fantasy points per target. What is it?
So normally for a wide receiver, like Odell Beckham, for example, is at like 1.7, 1.8. That's good. You know, guys like Devontae Adams, same area.
Okay, 1.7 is
Tyler
good.
Lockett was 3.
Whoa. Really?
Yes. Isn't
absurd.
that insane?
That is absurd.
So if he comes out and he does 2.2 and he gets 140 targets, this guy is going to be a monster in PPR settings and a monster in half PPR settings and a monster in standard leagues. Like, he's going to be really good. I don't know if that's good. The question is, Tyler Lockett was very efficient on a small target share.
Right.
Can he do that on the large target share? Or is that does that not equal success for him? You know, that's the question. Can he be a good wide receiver one? I saw somebody online, and I'm not saying this is going to happen, but the parallels between Devontae Adams' statistics before he broke out and Tyler Lockett's statistics before he broke out are lined up with each other.
That's interesting.
Tyler Lockett's going to break out this year. Can you give us our next one?
All right. A guy we've been on since like
jump on the train.
April, I think. We've been on this guy for a long time.
Yep.
Tyler Boyd. Tyler Boyd had a very good season last year. Was he a rookie last year?
No.
I want to look that
He's
up.
a third-year player.
Is he a third-year player?
Yes, sir.
So but he did kind of come out of nowhere. He didn't really do anything.
He was the third wide receiver. He was drafted, and then he sat behind guys. He was the third wide receiver to start the season behind John Ross, I believe. And then when AJ got hurt, he came in, and then he kind of took over, and now he's the wide receiver 2.
Right.
Or wide receiver 1 for the next 4 weeks.
So here's the thing with Tyler Boyd that I love.
He's on your fantasy team?
Well, that and... But no, I mean, even just like the reason I drafted him, right?
Yeah, right.
I keep dropping things every time it's my turn to talk.
This is my turn to talk. Like it's like we're passing a baton.
We are. Dude, give it back.
We literally have a baton in the studio.
Anyway, Tyler Boyd. To me, so last season when he was very good, he had Andy Dalton as his quarterback.
Right.
I saw a statistic. Again, I keep just throwing these out. I have to bring sources next time. But anyway, I was looking at Tyler Boyd before I drafted him, right? And I was looking him up. I'm like, Tyler Boyd, let me find something. So I did the numbers, and I think he was the 12th ranked. He was in between 10 or 12 ranked wide receivers in half PPR last year. Yeah. Through the first 8 games or so whenever Andy Dalton was playing. So when Andy Dalton played, he was from rank 10 to 12. When they brought in Driscoll for the second half of the season, Andy Dalton was like Tyler Boyd was like the 35th, I think, ranked wide receiver. It was in the 30s.
Right.
So he dropped big time. Well, people look at the final number and said, well, he started good and finished bad. We don't really know about Tyler Boyd for this year. AJ Green is going to be out the first 2 to 4 weeks. So that means Tyler Boyd's going to be the WR1 on that team.
Right.
He's going to get a crap ton of targets. And Andy Dalton is going to be his quarterback again. Yep. Which I think is very underrated. Something people aren't talking about as much as they should. Yeah. Is his connection with Andy Dalton. And Andy Dalton, as much as everybody likes to crap on Andy Dalton, including myself, he's much better than Driscoll.
Yeah, much better.
So I think taking Tyler Boyd in like the 6th, 7th round is
it's smart.
Great value.
Yeah, no, right.
To use the Walmart term.
Great value.
And it has big breakout potential.
We have to move on to the next guy, but I will run off my thoughts on him. He was a 2nd-round pick, so they expected him to be this. His breakout age was the 93rd percentile, so right when he got to college, he was good.
His 3rd year too.
He's in his 3rd year for 3rd year breakout, and last year he had a fantasy point per opportunity of 2.05, which ranked number 20 among wide receivers. At 2.05, like I said, good is like 1.8. So he's right there. His college dominator, 86th percentile. So he's up there. Like, those are the things that matter for wide receivers. Usually you don't look at college metrics and you don't look at a lot of that stuff. Like his SPARQ score, 18th percentile is bad. That's not good. But he's still going to have a really good season. And for me, I think next year, if he does, last year he had 108 targets. If he goes out this year and he gets somewhere upwards of 140, 150 targets, he could finish as a wide receiver 1. Low end, but a wide receiver 1.
I'm trying to look. So last year he had, compared to T.Y. Hilton, right? Who T.Y. Hilton finished 12th, I think, wide receivers last year. Does that sound about right? He was in that range. If you look at their just numbers from last season, I could be wrong actually. Let me make sure. But I believe Tyler Boyd had 76 catches. Yeah. For over 1,000 yards and 7 touchdowns. Yes. That's pretty much the exact same numbers as T.Y. Hilton.
Yeah. And he was the 2nd wide receiver.
Right.
He's
with
also
Driscoll as his quarterback.
Realistically, he's also better with AJ on the field. But with him off the field, I think there's a chance that he could succeed this year because, like you said, Jeff Driscoll was his quarterback when AJ Green was off the field. So I don't think that was a correlation with him just not connecting.
Imagine if, what would those numbers be if Andy Dalton played the whole season?
Right.
I think he could have had close to 100 receptions.
Yeah, I agree. I think he's a fantastic wide receiver, and I think he has breakout potential. I've been talking about him for months. My 3rd guy and my final guy is DJ Moore.
Yes.
I love DJ Moore. I've talked about him a million times. He's their 1st-round pick. He's major. He's a major. I think this is his 3rd year in the NFL, similar to Tyler Boyd. He has that breakout potential. The only concern for me with DJ Moore is utilization. Like, if he was in any other offense right now, he would be crazy utilized. Like, if
Carolina
he was if he was with like the Packers, he would be like a top 5 receiver all day. But because he's not targeted that much and he's on the Carolina Panthers and they don't throw the ball as much as you would like them to, he has to get targeted 140 to 160 times in order to be a wide receiver 1. But I think if he is targeted in that way, he will be a wide receiver 1.
Yes,
so I think he has breakout potential. To be honest with you, I almost put DJ Moore / Curtis Samuel because I think one of them is going to earn that repertoire. I
think DJ Moore, though, is probably...
DJ Moore is probably the guy, but there's a chance that it is Curtis Samuel.
I mean, DJ Moore is the most talented receiver Cam Newton maybe ever had since Steve Smith.
Right.
And that was in the beginning of his career.
Right. Where he threw 4,000 yards, by the way.
He did?
Yeah, that's the only time he threw 4,000 yards was the first year of his career.
I mean, this is if DJ Moore is ever going to break out, this is the time.
Yep.
And I think taking the chance on DJ Moore is a smart move.
It's worth the risk in the 6th, 7th round, yeah.
You look at the receivers other than Curtis Samuel.
Right.
On that team, there isn't anybody.
There isn't anybody.
DJ Moore will get his fair share of targets, and I think he's definitely worth... Where is he, 7th round?
He's 6th or 7th.
I think he's definitely worth a pick there.
Yeah. The final guy. Give it to us.
All right, listen, Chris Carson was a league...
He didn't even tease it. He was like, Chris Carson right away.
All right, Chris Carson was the league winner last year for myself. Had 20 fantasy points in the championship game.
Yeah.
Clutch. Anyway, you're probably thinking, well, he's not really a breakout. He was solid last year. He was decent last year. He was like a good flex at the end of the season. Up and down kind of the whole year. They were kind of splitting carries between Mike Davis, Rashad Penny. Did I say his name right? You're going to roast me.
Rashad Penny.
Okay, thank you. Chris Carson. But this year, Mike Davis is gone. I think Chris Carson has worked in the passing game. I think he's going to be a high-end RB2 this year.
Yeah.
And maybe even a low-end RB1 with that kind of potential.
Right.
As I was saying earlier, the Seahawks love to run the football. Them and the Ravens are the two teams that ran the ball most last season.
Right.
Chris Carson is going to get even more carries than he did last year. And he was popping at the end of the year last year.
He looked really good.
And not only is he going to get more carries this year, he's also going to be utilized in the passing game more this year. They've talked about it all offseason of him working on his game with the passing game. I mean, he, to me, is a guy that has potential to be an RB1, a low-end RB1 this year that you could get in the 4th round. I mean, he's climbing up now, but he's still, like, in some drafts, is going 4th round. I saw him go early 5th in the draft I was doing last night. Like, to me, if you're getting him there, I know you've probably already drafted, but Chris Carson, if you drafted him on your team to be an RB2 or flex, I think you should be very happy about that.
For me, Chris Carson, I try to think about, not every year works out the same, but history likes to repeat itself sometimes. This year, I'm trying to find that 3rd, 4th round running back that turns into this year's Christian McCaffrey. And there's 2 guys that I think have the upside to do it. And a lot of people are going to be like, you're crazy, but Aaron Jones is one of them.
Okay.
And I think Chris Carson is the other. If Chris Carson can be a high-end RB2, low-end RB1 just on rushing metrics. Like, he literally could do it just on rushing. And if you add 50 catches, 40 catches to his repertoire,
that's going to be key.
That's going to be key there. If
that happens, though,
he ends up a top 5 running backs.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that he will, but if he's utilized in that way, he stays healthy, he gets 1,200 yards on the ground and 500 yards through the air and gets 12 rushing touchdowns. He's there. You know what I mean? But that'll do it for our top 3 breakouts on this episode. Be sure to listen on Thursday as we do our final... I really need to change my notes. We did our mock draft last week. Be sure to listen on Thursday as we discuss our week 1 matchups and discuss...
Guess what we're talking about next week?
Starts and sits for week 1.
We're talking about NFL football.
It's starting.
Real NFL
football. Thursday. Be sure to listen Thursday morning. Don't forget to check out the Fantasy Champions. Follow us on Instagram and Twitter. Talk to you Thursday, Fantasy Champs.
Peace out.
Thank you for listening to the Fantasy Champions podcast. Make sure you subscribe on iTunes and YouTube and follow us on Twitter @TheFFChamps.